What up, everybody? Lonnie here with Charts and Labs. Jumping in and making a quick video. After tonight's Zoom call, the question has came up a couple times in regards to permissionless, centralized, and decentralized. And the reason that they're getting mixed up, especially in terms when it comes to TXC. First key thing to understand is that when you talk about decentralized and centralized, there are multiple levels to that in itself. And so I'll get to that one second. But first off, when you start about permission or permissionless mining, that's basically it's just about the mining, and that's basically on who has access to the mining blocks and stuff. So when you talk about a proof of work coin that's mining, like Bitcoin being permissionless means that anybody with a computer can jump on, set up a pool, and start mining it and start taking some of those. What TXC does is different than those permissionless mining currencies is that only the TXC mine itself can mine and yield mine and harvest those blocks. The validators are only within the TXC mine. Nobody can come in and plug in and start mining TXC that hasn't been vetted or validated through TXC itself. So that's talking about the mine and mining it. Permission means that you have to be validated to be a validator. Basically, you have to be vetted into the group, and then that will allow you to mine it yourself. If it's permissionless, the code is out there, it's open source, anybody can go do it, which means that you're gonna rely on how much hashing power you're able to develop in order to have a piece. When you look at Bitcoin being permissionless, it's so saturated that a lot of people are mining it and not getting any coins to them. They're stuck mining for and hoping it's become a lottery. So when you keep it permission based to mine, that means that there is a fixed variable and it's not going to be taken or bought out basically. And then you get into centralized and decentralized. And when you talk about this, you're talking about basically the oversight and the decision making and the control. So you could look at the exchanges, the type of exchange being decentralized or centralized, and this is like the ones that have the KYC and are regulated more. Those ones are more of a centralized exchange because they have oversight and they have a governance. When you talk about kind of these open exchanges that are a little bit more in the wild west, they're decentralized. They don't have the KYC and they don't have some of those other variables. And so those are centralized versus decentralized exchanges. And then you come into like a project in itself, and the project and how it's ran can be centralized or decentralized. And for TXC in this example, technically Bobby is the main leader of the group, even though there is a few team members. It's often governed and decisions of the project are made through Bobby. That would make it kind of in a centralized manner. This is the same argument that hits XRP for being centralized, is because even though it's Ripple and there's a board of members who are in it, they make all the decisions, and it's a small enough group that it is very easy to argue that XRP is technically centralized. Just the same way that you could technically argue that TXC has some centralized governance in it because Bobby is the main controller of decisions. But you could still be decentralized in the mining, meaning that the mine is not at one central location. And that's where TXC is a permission-based decentralized mine, is because the mine is operating automatically. There's no that governance that comes from Bobby doesn't come in, and he doesn't manually enter the amount of TXC that's harvested. It doesn't distribute a certain amount that he decides. The mining part of it is decentralized. The mine and what it can yield from the network and its usage throughout the day is dependent on the difficulties and the efficiencies of that mine. And then it's not just one. It's not just all in McKinney, Texas, at one spot on one property where all of the mine is connected to one computer. There's Conroe, there's Mansfield, there's Victoria, and then the home miners also as well. So there are multiple sources contributing to that mine, making it a decentralized mining operation. So the centralized and decentralized is a term used at multiple facets of crypto. Permission and permissionless is solely based on just the mine, meaning that only TXE can mine it. Nobody else can just come in and just start mining it on their own without permission. The centralized and decentralized goes in multiple layers as far as the exchanges on how much oversight and regulation they have, the project itself on the governance and control and who has that governance and decision making capabilities in the project itself, and then in the mining on these proof of work ones, is it all in one location, a central location, and one central computer that has that one singular decision on how much is hashed and decided throughout the day, and that's where the levels are that create the confusion. So that's my little recap. Here's a little touch on through what ChatGPT says. Um, permissionless mining. Permissionless mining means that anyone can participate in the mining or validation without approval from a central authority. No whitelist, no application, or KYC. Rules enforced by code, not by people. Entry exists. Permissionless does not guarantee equal opportunity. Does not guarantee perfect decentralization. No concentration of power. Common misconception: if anyone can mine it, that automatically means it's decentralized. That's not true. When you talk about permission mining, this is what TXC is. Permission mining means only approved participants can mine or validate the blocks. Validators are selected or vetted. Participation is restricted, often used for compliance, security, and network stability in early stages. This is all things that TXC is doing, and the critical distinction is permission does not automatically mean centralized. You can have multiple independent validators. That's where the multiple mining locations come in. And transparent rules, distributed ownership. That's everybody who has the hash power. Then when you go into a separate conversation away from the permission and permissionless, now we're talking about centralized versus decentralized. A centralized system has one entity that controls protocol changes, monetary policy, validator selection. Single point of failure, fast decision making, high trust requirement. A decentralized system has control distributed across many operators, many stakeholders, governance via consensus and transparent rules. Slower, but resilient. The key insight: decentralization is about control, not the access. So that's where permission is about the access, decentralization or centralization is about the control of power. So why do these get confused so often? It's a language shortcut. People collapse a complex system into simple labels. Permission is bad, permissionless is good. In reality, it's more nuanced than that. The early crypto, if you look at most people's understanding of crypto based on Bitcoin trained people that open participation automatically meant decentralization. That association stuck through even though as more projects came across. Marketing incentives. Projects often emphasize decentralized, avoid explaining governance mechanics, and blur the technical distinctions for simplicity. A mixed model exists, and this is kind of what I would say is where TXC is. Many real networks operate on hybrids: permission validators with decentralized governance, permissionless access with centralized control. The 2+2 matrix, very effective on screen. We're going to skip that, but this is how it explains. You could be centralized control and still have open participation, but power is concentrated. Being centralized and permissionless. If you're being centralized and permissioned, restricted access, central authority. So that's kind of like the double dipper of that centralized power, governance, and control of the mine. You can be decentralized control and permissionless. This is open participation. The power and decision making is distributed. A decentralized control that is permission mining, restricted access, but shared governance. Key takeaway. Permission is about who can participate. Decentralization is about who has the power to decide. Practical investor lens. This is optional. Closing summary. Crypto systems are not black and white. Permission does not mean centralized. Permissionless does not guarantee decentralized. If you understand the difference, you're already ahead of most in the market. So that's why it gets a little bit murky and we get over and we kind of crisscross the words, because decentralized and centralized talks about multiple parts of it. Permission and permissionless is strictly on the mining. But the mining also has the decentralized or centralized, and that's where TXC is a decentralized mine, because there are multiple sources, multiple locations, multiple miners contributing. But those are only chosen by TXC itself. It's not available for anybody to just start mining it for themselves. So hope that helps. If you need any other questions or further explanation, please feel free to comment or message me, and I will do my best to clear it up. And catch you guys on the next one.